thank you for listening to the Moral Revolution podcast. For more content, visit moralrevolution.com.
Welcome to the Let's Talk About It Moral Revolution podcast with the wise, not all knowing, but most knowing, Jason Vallotton.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
A lot knowing.
Some knowing.
Some knowing, okay. We'll stick with some knowing. The some knowing Jason Vallotton. We're talking about relationships, singleness. You know, we're going to unpack your trust ladder today, which is awesome.
Right.
Something I've heard you teach on a few different times is incredibly helpful. You know, today's really for anybody that's single, that's dating, somebody that knows a single person or knows a dating person. If you're one of those or you know somebody,
it's true.
This is for you.
It's for the world.
It's for the entire world. Every single person in it.
Let's do it.
Let's go. Here we go. The some knowing Jason Vallotton talks about dating. The reality of it is dating's complicated. I think where we're at today, it's very different than it's ever been, the dating culture. Going on dates, things have changed. And we don't really necessarily want to suppress it back, but we have to still figure out how to win in this culture.
Yeah.
Dating can be complicated. You know, let's just start to unpack that.
Yeah, it's true. You know, one of the things that I think is the most challenging in our culture is the definitions, right? So
that is probably my as a former youth pastor. What it's called is probably my favorite thing.
It's and how it's been modeled. So you know, if you're a young adult watching this, your parents told you how they date, and you're like, no thanks. And your grandma and grandpa talk to you, and you're like, definitely no thanks. And so the real question is, where's the model?
Right.
And what do we do? Because you have so many people getting together nowadays without a roadmap, and therefore, you know, if you try and go from California to New York with no map, the chances that you get there in a efficient, timely, unscathed,
you might be able to make it there eventually.
Budget-friendly matter.
Budget-friendly,
is super slim. And that's what dating's like today.
So you're saying unhealthy dating costs a lot of money?
It costs a lot of time, energy, effort, pain. It does.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, think about anybody watching this. Think about your dating experiences. Like, who taught you how to date? Who taught you what's right to feel, what's wrong to feel, how fast to push the pace, when you're ready? Who actually taught you that?
I mean, I would probably say most people weren't taught how to date.
No.
Jay, I mean, you're asking that question. I think the question for most is like nobody.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? The microphone just moved on its own. Thanks, Abram.
Yeah, no, and so let's just cut to the chase. Because everyone's wondering, like, how do I know when I'm ready to date?
Yeah, that's a great first question.
I think that you're ready to date when you've done a few things.
First of all, you're 35 to 40. Just joking.
Yeah. I think you're ready when you are able to face your past. Whatever your past was. You could have a crystal clean past. Like I actually when I started dating, I had a pretty crystal clean past, except for pornography and masturbation, which I had dealt with for a couple years.
Right.
And overcome. Well, I need to be able and ready to be transparent in those areas when it's time. If I get into a relationship and I'm not able to share and to be vulnerable and open when it's right, which we'll talk about, when it's right, I'm not ready to date.
Okay, so how do you even, you know, a lot of times you have to be in that conversation and know if you are ready for it or not. What are some indicators internally that you could look at to gauge if you've actually been able to face your past well?
You've already processed it with somebody that you're afraid to tell.
Like actually talked through it, processed it, not just internalized it, and come to grips on your own.
You should see. Here's the deal: is that we're going to talk about the trust ladder.
Yeah.
But part of building trust is not in the absence of making mistakes, but how we clean up a mess.
Really good.
So when you start dating, eventually somebody's going to go. You know, Caitlin at some point went, Cole, what did you do for this? When you told her your greatest failure, she's wondering, how did you clean up that mess?
Yeah.
Whether she knows it or not. And by you going, hey, I went to my youth pastor and we confronted this. I saw a counselor for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I've actually been free of this and unashamed of it for the last 3 years.
So it's not creating an insecure human that you're going to have to deal with.
And you don't have to avoid it.
Yeah.
I'm not running away from stores that have a picture of a girl. No, I'm also not going into them. I'm living my life as a free man.
Yeah.
Or I'm at least aware and admitting these are areas that I know I can't go into.
Yep.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's great.
So we want to have repeated success, and we want to know how to clean up a mess in order to build trust.
Okay, so let's say you're dating, you're at the beginning of this dating relationship, and maybe I'm jumping ahead, stop me if I am, but we're realizing the person that we're considering dating, I don't want to say partner, we're not at that point. We've went to coffee with them.
Yep.
Right? There's no.
Ooh, there we go.
We're coffee buddies at this point, which you'll do with a stranger, so it's barely even a date, right?
Step one, fellas.
Yeah, that's like step 0, right? Coffee, just for the record, coffee's not a date, y'all. You'll do it with people you don't know. Anyways, you're at that point and you're realizing, maybe hanging out, whatever point you're in, but you realize, man, they haven't really come to grips with their reality. Let's talk about the other person now. I mean, are you being more hesitant now? Where are you at with processing, should I get into this relationship?
Yeah, step one, I mean, when I'm coaching people through, should you be in a relationship with this guy or this girl or not, I'm asking you to look at things like, how do they do friendship outside of you?
Yeah.
Do other people trust them that you trust?
That's good.
What's the commentary around them? So before Lauren ever dated me, she could look at my dad and Bill and Mark Brooks and the other revival group pastors, because she was in a school with, in the school that I was helping leading, and she'd ask all kinds of questions about my life.
Right.
Gabe Valenzuela was her overseer, so she was asking Gabe like, well, how does he do with this, and do you respect him? How do you do with that? I mean, that tells her a whole bunch of information before she ever steps into step number 1.
Yeah.
Which on the trust ladder, we're going to talk about the trust ladder, is I think that in order for relationships to go really well, we're talking about like really well.
Like myself and Caitlin. Like if you,
totally perfect.
Like the perfect relationship, that'd be the best example.
It would.
Obviously.
You actually have to be really intentional and proactive and not organic. Which, don't turn it off yet. Just keep listening. The challenge with young people, is you want everything.
With you, young people.
Every single one of them.
The problem with you.
Yeah. All of us, honestly, is we want things just to happen organically.
Totally.
Like Disney or like our favorite love story, The Notebook. It just happens.
They realized, I love you.
I know.
I didn't even know.
What does love even mean? Okay,
what is
here we
love,
go.
baby? I'll stop.
Yeah, you're hurting me.
You're welcome.
Okay. So if you have an organic relationship, there's so much insecurity inside of a unplanned relationship.
Okay, why?
Because you don't know what's going to happen. It's the most vulnerable thing that you'll ever do is let somebody inside of you, inside of your inner world, and navigate, to navigate your thoughts, your emotions, even physical touch. There's a lot of people in this world that didn't have a great upbringing when it comes to physical touch, when it comes to affection. And so if, for instance, when Lauren and I started dating, I'll go over the ladder, but I asked her before I ever held her hand, I'm asking, hey, are you okay with me holding your hand? I think the man should open the door emotionally and the woman should have a choice whether she goes in it or not.
That's a really, really good statement.
So actually she went, no, I'm not. It was like a week into it, and I was like, yeah, cool. I played it off, but inside I was like, oh gosh, is she going to, is she pulling away? But what happened was I got to go away, deal with my own insecurity of not pushing the relationship too fast, right? So I got to go talk to my dad and say like, this is what actually happened. He's like, that's really good for you. Like, stay on track. You don't want to push her. You want her to make that decision when she feels comfortable. So literally, like, it was awesome because I got to realign myself with my belief system, my core values, get my needs met from God, not from her, get my insecurity met from God, not from her.
Yeah.
And then, ask her again when I felt like she was coming closer and say, hey, I don't want to push. I feel like we've moved forward. Tell me if I'm wrong. Are you in a spot where you're ready to make the next step, which would be hold hands? And she was like, actually, I am. Now, I didn't reach over and grab her hand right there, but then it allowed for this beautiful, organic moment to happen later on.
Yeah.
because I knew she was ready. So there was no question in my mind when I held her hand, or in her mind, am I going to get rejected? Are we at this point? What does this mean? Does holding hand means that had all been established before time.
Right.
Therefore, I know that we're both in agreement here. There's no violation.
So there's no concern, there's no anxiety, you're just free to be you because you're not terrified of what's going to come next, or she's not.
Literally no violation, which I'm saying long before we ever got married, which I didn't know that we were going to get married. It says, I care about your needs and protecting you way more than I care about what I want.
Okay.
I'm building trust.
I want to backtrack to a statement that you made that I felt was a really big statement. The man's job is to open the door and to give her the choice if she wants to walk through it or not.
Every time.
Let's talk about that for a second, because what does that look like? Like, talk to the men out there that are listening to this or watching this, and give them some practicals of what that means. What can they do to make sure she feels the freedom to not walk through a door that she's not ready to walk through without them making it feel like you said, you had to go, have we stepped back? Like, it had the opportunity to put a bunch of doubt and insecurity about the relationship in your mind. Like, what's the man have to talk through in his own mind to have the strength to give her the ability to say no, and it not be an indictment on who he is or the relationship?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, man, I think that you have to have your identity worked out before you get into a relationship. So I am a strong man. I do have something to offer this relationship, whether it goes somewhere or not. I have people around me that have affirmed me as a man, so I'm not looking at it for the woman. Therefore, I can ask questions like, I can clarify before I take every step. So before I take any step of commitment in a relationship, whether it's small or big, I'm constantly talking it through. I'm talking it through with her at the appropriate time. So even asking her out, like when I asked Lauren out, I basically said, I asked her if she wanted to go for a walk, and she was great with that. And then I said, hey, I'd love to pursue you. And she was like, I don't know what that means. And I'm like, awesome. Let me tell you what it means. Now,
let me show you this documentary on the African safari and the lion.
I thought she was going to turn me down, but literally what I said was, I said, I'd love to be able to take you out on dates. I'd love to be more intentional, be able to have fun with you, see if we enjoy each other's company.
Yeah, it's good.
But I don't want you to question whether or not I am intentionally pursuing you. I don't know if this will go anywhere, but I'd love to at least give it a chance. Now, if that's not where you're at, then I'm totally fine with you going, hey, something different sounds better. So I didn't even get her in the starry night, which it was that night. I didn't hold her hand randomly
and pull her close.
Yeah, tell her all my cool victories that I've done, and I lead the school of ministry on this.
Gaston.
Totally. I literally let her know what my clear intentions were, and then let her know that in doing that, she's free to tell me what's okay for her and what's not okay. Like what feels okay to you.
Yeah.
So the only reason why Lauren and I started dating was because literally she'll say this. I felt like it was such a easy, no commitment, no long-term commitment deal. I was able to go well, that sounds great. That sounds healthy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I might as well try it.
Yeah. So make it so easy she's willing to try it.
I think make it clear.
Yeah.
Make it super clear, hey, I'd love to know if
not so high stakes that she's got to decide on marriage on the spot.
I'd love to know if we can have fun together.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if my personality and your personality, if they work well together.
Yeah.
And if we would want to go further. So I would like to be intentional to answer those questions.
Can I get a cold brew without a wedding ring today? That's the question.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. That's probably the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Trust ladder. Because this is what I've seen you teach on this a couple different times.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it's probably one of the best dating teachings I've heard.
Right.
Like I said, some things. So this is some of those things, and I think it's really, really helpful and healthy for people. So what is the trust ladder?
Yeah, so the trust ladder is basically just a guide to help you keep your intimacy level and trust level in check. So you never want your intimacy level to go above your level of trust.
Yep.
As soon as your intimacy level goes above your level of trust, you've created insecurity. And where you create insecurity, you create a culture of fear. And where you create a culture of fear, eventually you start medicating that.
Yeah.
Because fear creates anxiety and pain, whether you know it, it's low level pain. And you can think about in any of your relationships where there's in anxiety and insecurity, those are the worst relationships you have.
Yeah, I mean, and they're miserable. Like, not just are they bad relationships, but they actually kind of start to change the individual.
100%. And so, no longer is this dating relationship a really fun journey where we're learning and we're growing. It's this, how do I not feel insecure today? How do I get out of this insecure spot? And eventually people burn out and it ends bad. So the ladder just really, relationship ladder just really helps me to go intentionally, what's the first step?
Yeah.
Step one, if you're just starting in a relationship, let's say that you guys had that talk that Lauren and I had, and she said or he said, hey, is it okay if I pursue you? And you said yes, or vice versa. What's the next step?
Yeah.
Step number one, up here. If the first step in the ladder is, do I actually know me?
Yeah, that's
do I
really
have
big.
what it takes to stay consistent, stay honest to my convictions? Do I have to have a woman? Or does this girl that I'm with have to have a man?
Yeah.
If that's the case, get off the ladder.
Yeah.
Get your identity reworked out, go back to the playing field. Go back to the playbook. Because you have to be okay with being rejected.
You can't need that person to be fulfilled.
Nope. And you have to be okay with being rejected if you're going to jump on the ladder.
Wow.
You got to be able to handle it, and you got to know that you can handle it.
Yeah.
Step number two. So as you go up, right? Do I know me? Yes. If the answer is yes, you can put trust on the other side of that ladder. So it builds trust. Number two, as I'm starting to date them, like let's say we've gone out 2 or 3 times, I'm asking myself, are they safe? Which may seem like a weird question, but if ladies, if you're dating a Jeffrey Dahmer, he's a serial killer, and you don't ask yourself that question, emotionally he's a serial killer,
Yeah.
you're in trouble.
Well, and vice versa. Like, you have to know if what it matters to you is safe with them. Can I share with them what's going on in my life, or are they gonna tell everybody?
Just the small things. And here's how you know. What do they share with you about other people?
Yeah.
So I love it when a person restrains what they'll tell me in order to honor somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love it when somebody sets boundaries and has needs. So if you're not going, hey, what time feels good for you to be back home?
Yep.
And they say, just whenever. I'm like, okay, I want someone that knows what's healthy and someone that has needs and has boundaries. Because let me just give you a little secret. Without needs and boundaries, they'll never feel taken care of or loved.
Wow.
Ever. So you'll get to marriage, and if they never actually share what they really need or are able to set a boundary because they want to please you so much or they need it so much, that marriage is going to end in disaster.
Well,
or
and
it's going to be hurtful.
it feels almost honorable to not need anything. Like, we're supposed to lay down our life like Christ. So it's like somebody that's packaging, well, I don't need anything, whatever you want, wherever you want to go. What you're ultimately saying is that's not a safe place to be if somebody never has anything they need.
It's not real. I mean, think about babies.
Yeah.
When a child is born, how many needs does a child have?
Countless.
Countless. So all of a sudden we're adults, we have no needs? No, everybody has needs. We all have body, soul, spirit needs. We also have needs from, if I'm gonna grow and trust with you, even just in friendship, as a friend, if I'm gonna say, Cole, I want you to be my friend, you're gonna find out like, dude, don't call me at 12 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Don't call me at 10 o'clock at night. And the more I can define like, hey, this works great for me. What would you like? Do you want to go fishing or do you want to go hunting? You're like, oh, I'm scared of hunting. Let's go fishing. I'm like, okay, cool. Where would you like to go? Oh, I don't care. Well, no, you actually do. Planning something out and what we talk about. Hey, dude, I actually don't like it when we talk about leadership this way. And you go, dude, I totally respect that. Not only that, but I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have done that. That builds our relationship. So how we clean up a mess builds our relationship.
Yeah, that's good.
So you have to have needs and boundaries. And again, every time you find it, if you go right on that left side, it's trust. It builds trust. So on one side, You have, I'm answering this question. As I'm answering this question, there we go. You have trust. It continues to build trust. So, the next one, can we have fun together?
We can.
Yeah, we can. And you'll find that, again, relationships where people can't have fun together, where they don't genuinely can be themselves.
Yeah.
Can I be me? Which doesn't mean rude. It doesn't mean dishonoring.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you're wild and scary and you get to drive 100 miles an hour, guys. And the girl, I just can't be me.
Unless you're on a racetrack, then that would be okay.
Yeah, that's true. But you're not. So this is just who I am. It's like, yeah, you're inconsiderate of me. No. So we go back to, are they safe?
Right.
If they are, and we can have fun together and easily talk together, and we have things in common, psychologists say the more you have in common, the less stretching it takes to create a nice bond. So you're always going to have things that are uncommon to one another in a relationship. That's part of the exploration process. But do we genuinely like each other?
Yeah.
If you don't, it's a great place to back out. Or if you're not sure, every place that you're not sure on the ladder, you stay for longer. So as your intimacy grows, so trust and intimacy, you're also going to have intimacy growing on that side, on the trust side. As the intimacy grows, you never want your intimacy to grow above the question that you can answer.
Yeah. Whoa, say that again.
You never want your intimacy to grow above your level of trust.
Yeah, the question that you can answer.
The question you can answer.
Yeah, that's really good.
So again, I'm not even holding hands at can we have fun? And we may have gone out 6 or 7 times because I'm trying to answer that question.
Yeah.
So I'm going to hold hands when I can get to, I know that you have needs, or we communicate well. Or, I'm going to have a certain place where I'm going to go, okay, I trust you this much.
Yep.
Now let's see what some physical connection, my physical connection with you is a sign that I trust you.
Yeah.
It should be earned.
Sure.
The next one, do our core values line up? I see a lot of people, they get physical before they answer this question. And then because they're so physically entwined and their emotions are so high, they justify each other not having the same core values.
Yeah.
So, well, he doesn't really go to church, but he's a great guy. He's a super good guy. Let me just tell you,
That'll preach.
I mean, I've done years of counseling. It's the hardest thing on a marriage when your key core values, not every value, but when your key core values don't line up, you can forget. I mean, physical in marriage is so much less than what it is in dating.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's amazing. Great sex is great, but great sex is great because we actually build trust.
Yeah.
And because we are intentional.
It is crazy because once I remember not being married, thinking sex was all about the physical.
Oh, dude.
And then I get married and realize, I mean, sure, there's that, but it's like less. I mean, such a smaller percentage. It's so much about connection, trust, the way that we're engaging. Are we emotionally available to each other? It's so unbelievable how different it is when you're actually experiencing it.
Well, otherwise you're just sleeping with yourself. You're the only one participating in it.
Yeah.
If there's no connection, and it's super lonely. You won't feel any more alone than making love with somebody who's not actually there with you.
Really good.
So
you do know some things.
I know a couple. So if our core values are lining up, and we're like, hey, this is great.
Yep.
Maybe I'm like, okay, this might be the spot where I feel connected enough. We have fun. You're safe. Our core values are lining up. We've been together there's no amount of time that's right or wrong. I think if you do this all in a day, you're dumb. But, I mean, you're lying to yourself. This should take some time.
Yeah.
But, a little while into it, 3 or 4 or 5 weeks into it, you're like, I'm holding your hand. I know you're safer. I know if I back out, your core value says honor me. Mm-hmm. I know if I say, hey, this actually isn't working for me, you can handle you. You're a big boy. Or you're a strong woman. Mm-hmm. I'm not your everything.
Yeah.
It's a great place for connection to happen.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Makes a ton of sense.
Do we have needs and boundaries? We talked about that a little bit in the lower one. Is God in their God spot? That's number 5.
Yeah. You kind of started to allude to it, but didn't say it directly.
Yeah. And some of these I'll spend less time on. But God is your source for identity, direction, protection, comfort, unconditional love, healing, mercy, There's a couple other things, and you guys can slow that down and replay it. But here's the main thing, is that I don't want to be put in their God spot.
Yeah.
Lauren doesn't want to feel like if I'm going through a breakdown, now she's my source, which I went through.
Yeah.
So literally, there's times in our marriage where she goes, hey, I'm going to need you to go figure that out. And I'm like, you're right. Or, hey, listen, I just need some time alone to figure this out with God.
Yeah.
Now, my wife should be a reflection of what God said to me.
Yeah, that's
so
good.
A guy should be a reflection of what God's already said to you, not your source for it. Or you'll put him in the God spot, all of a sudden you create insecurity.
Yep. Right?
You create insecurity, and now we create a culture.
Codependency, all kinds of stuff.
All of that. So it's God in the God spot. Do we have needs and boundaries? Huge. Again, I already went over this. Without needs, without boundaries, there is no such thing as actually feeling cared for. So, if you're a 9 on the Enneagram, if you're a 2 on the Enneagram like me, you're going to have a hard time sharing your needs. That's something you need to practice. If you've never set boundaries before, get the boundaries book, read it, learn how to set boundaries. Boundaries are probably one of the most abused things in relationship, but one of the most healthy things in relationship.
Yeah.
Boundaries are to keep your love on, not to keep people out.
Yep.
So you need to redefine that. I'm going to move a little bit quicker because I know we're down on time.
Yep.
Do we communicate well? That doesn't mean we never get in an argument. If your goal is to not get in an argument, you're not actually creating...
Never going to get married either.
No. And you're not going to create intimacy and trust. Because if you and I get into a disagreement, let's actually say you and I really in friendship get into a disagreement.
Yep.
How do I ever know that you really honor me? Not when we agree.
Right.
But when we disagree.
In the way that we disagree.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there should be a talker and there should be a listener. So when we're disagreeing, I'm not just trying to get the word in and I'm not aggressive. I'm actually going like, hey, Cole, I noticed something was going on the other day. You felt a little distant. Tell me about that. And I really care. I really want to know. And if I don't do a good job at it, it's even better because you get to go, hey, when we talked about that, didn't feel super good.
Yeah.
So you guys might camp here for a long time before you move on to intimacy, before you move further up into trust and further into intimacy, because the chances that your home life, that your parents taught you and that you did communication well is very slim.
Yeah.
And communication is something that you learn in theory and then practice. And so stay here for a while until you learn how to talk about you, not them. Yesterday, when you just came over at 12 o'clock at night, I didn't just feel dishonored, I felt angry. Now, I didn't say, when you came over at 12 o'clock at night, I don't even know any friend that would ever do that.
Yeah.
Like, what are you thinking? I'm just telling you about me.
Yeah.
I'm telling you how it affected me. I'm telling you why I feel that way. Learning how to talk about you is huge.
Right.
And allowing them to respond, not wanting to punish. So communication is massive, I'll tell you.
It's really good.
And the thing is, when you master communication, it lowers anxiety, and then you can solve problems together. But until you master communication, the anxiety's high when any problem happens, and you'll avoid conflict and problems and having needs and setting boundaries because you don't know how to communicate.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Are we going the same direction? So you can love somebody. Love is not a reason to get married. You can't have love and not get married, though. I would say it's a really bad idea to not love somebody and get married.
But love isn't the reason to get married.
No. Yeah, I can love somebody and not marry them.
Sure.
Absolutely. And you may love 2 or 3 people and not marry them. You may get to this point and go, I really love you, but you want to be a missionary, and I feel called to Reading. I have to stay in Reading. So Lauren and I got together. I had to stay in Reading. Like, my kids are here, my ex-wife is here, my ministry's here. I'm not going anywhere else.
Right.
So she literally had the process for a long time. Am I okay with if we don't ever move from Reading?
Yeah. If 110 in the summer is my lot in life, can I accept that?
Do you want it?
Do you want it?
And it was very honest.
Yeah.
So, are we going the same direction? Because otherwise somebody's dream's going to die.
Yeah.
And
then resentment, contempt.
In the midst of a fairy tale, doesn't feel very big.
Yeah.
In reality, when you sign on the dotted line, it's like, man, coming home to a wife or a husband that feels super purposeless and unfulfilled is so hard.
Yep.
So love isn't going to cover that.
So good.
It's not.
It's great.
Are we going the same way? Can we build stability? You know, again, all this stuff creates stability. As you're getting to can we build stability, you're starting to talk through things like, you're starting to talk through marriage. You're looking at how they deal with their finances. You're looking at how they
keep a job.
Yeah, do the job. Do they have a good work ethic? Are we going to be able to build a life that we can sustain? Do they burn themselves out all the time? Are they always in conflict with other people? You know, it's really telling. Number 9 is really telling of what your future is going to be.
Yeah, it's good.
Number 10, how do we deal with conflict? We already talked a ton about that.
Communication.
Yeah, let me say this. If you can't handle conflict, you will eventually not have needs. You'll eventually not set boundaries. You won't feel loved. You'll avoid conflict. Therefore, you'll feel so incredibly trapped. Just replay that and slow-mo it.
Well, and you're even not, that's not even, I would assume, we're not even talking just conflict with each other, but how do they deal with conflict in life? How are they handling their struggles, their challenges, and their issues?
Everywhere. Do they not go to the gym because they don't like pain? And therefore they're not disciplined? Do they avoid conflict with their parents? Now, if somebody's not healthy, if their parents are verbally abusive, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But do they avoid conflict in their life? Am I avoiding conflict in life? You have to be able to. We were built for conflict. Christians were built for conflict. We were built to go into the hardest places in the world and transform it.
Come on.
We cannot be afraid to do conflict, especially in relationship.
Yeah, right.
11, do they know how to care for me? I hate it when people say, like, I hear all the time, like, I love him, but I love him. I'm like, okay, what does that actually mean? I don't know. What I actually love is a choice. If you change the word to actually care, do they know how to care for you? Do they understand your personality type? Do they understand what's important to you? Do they understand your priorities? Do they know what you need? Do you know what they need when they fail? Can they have a hard day and you're okay? Do you know how to keep track of their gifts and their love language and things like that in a way that says, you know how to care for me and I know how to care for you? I'm not wondering if in theory, when we get married, you're going to do a good job caring for me. If they don't do a good job caring for you on this side of relationship, it's going to get worse.
Yeah, totally.
It doesn't get easier. There's no more motivation to care for somebody than when you're dating. So if they don't do a good job here, and if you don't feel motivated to care for them, you're going to want to stop here, camp here, explain your personality type, explain maybe some of the Enneagram, explain your love languages. You can look all those things up until you feel cared for. If they don't know how to care for the world around them and do a good job doing that, don't get married. Just camp here for a while. Don't move further into intimacy and just work on this until you do really good at it.
It's great.
Were you going to say something?
No.
Okay.
I'm just agreeing. It's awesome.
Unconditional love.
Yep.
Do they know how to do unconditional love? Before I give my whole heart to somebody, my entire heart, I want to know, do they know how to do unconditional love?
I mean, you want to know you can fail with them.
100%.
Yeah.
Can I fail? Can you handle a failure? Who in their life do they do unconditional love with? What's the biggest mistake they can handle? What is the biggest show of love that they have? Do they know how to serve somebody in love? So you want to stay there for a while until you feel confident.
So good.
You know what? You really actually do know how to do unconditional love.
If you have to pay the price for every mistake in dating, it's going to get worse in marriage.
Oh, dude. 100%.
Yeah.
So unconditional love obviously is a huge deal. Number 13, it could really be put anywhere on here, I think, but they know how to do win-win. If you marry somebody who only knows how to do win-lose, it has to be their way.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't have got here by now, but you want to make sure that they know how to have your best interest in mind. It's part of unconditional love, right? It's laying down your life for the other person, but it's also knowing how to negotiate through all the different nuances of a relationship.
Yeah.
So, and you do that a lot when you have kids. One person needs to get out for a night, and the other person, hasn't been out at night at all either, and they're both tired, and you have to figure out win-wins. I mean, where you spend your money, where you spend your time, where you work, all those things are important. So do we know how to negotiate a little bit and come to win-wins, or lay everything down and not do it at all?
Yep.
So John Maxwell says, in a relationship, win-win or nothing at all.
Really good.
Yeah.
That's great.
And
Thank you, John.
The last one, I want to be confident that when I marry somebody, forever isn't long enough. That's the fairy tale.
Yeah.
And I like a little fairy tale.
It's mushy.
When I married Lauren,
cute.
I was like, I mean, the other day I was like, I don't know that I'm looking forward to heaven. I just love being with her and our family and our life so much.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's cool.
this is really great. This is the best life I've ever had.
So good, yeah.
And before we got married, I told her, like, please don't marry me if your dreams don't feel bigger for marrying me. If you can't see a future that's bigger, honestly, not making it up, but if your future doesn't feel bigger being trapped in Redding than doing whatever else you want to do, don't marry me.
Yeah.
Even though you love me. Like, I want you to be fulfilled.
It's really good.
So, guys, if you do a great job at asking yourself these questions and keeping the relationship at a pace that can handle these.
Yeah.
Because when you stop at number 6, what happens is there's some anxiety that gets built. You want that to happen.
Yep.
You want the pressure to be there so that you learn how to deal with that anxiety. You don't physically push a relationship ahead to get the answer that you want and then keep moving, because you constantly use that pressure of anxiety to move you forward. You don't want to do that. You want to be able to stay at a number and create a bunch of health, 5, 6, or 7, create a bunch of health, ask questions, work through it with a third-party person. That's how Lauren and I solved a lot of stuff, is we were just really honest. We'd pull in a counselor and we go, I don't know how to answer this question.
Yeah.
We're stuck here. Man, if you can do that, that's what you'll do in marriage.
Yeah, it's good.
So
It's
that's
great.
the best advice I have for dating.
There you have it, folks. 14 easy steps to a healthy relationship from Jason Vallotton, the man who doesn't know everything, but knows some things.
Thank you. I
Thank you.
appreciate that.
Thank you for listening to the Moral Revolution podcast. For more content, visit moralrevolution.com and follow us on social media, pursuing God's design for sexuality.